was actually at the Golden Globes in 2005 that we were both there with Pride and Prejudice, and he said, he'd been talking to me about Atonement, and we weren't quite sure either way. And then Baz McAvoy came up and said, "So are you going to work with each other again?" And we both looked at each other and went, "Yes." And that was sort of it, and me said yes to Atonement, and that was kind of wonderful. I think I absolutely loved working on Pride and Prejudice with him, and I think the chemistry between actor and director is very similar to the chemistry between actors on the screen. It's actually quite rare to find it when it really works together creatively, and I think our creative relationship is really good. He makes me incredibly happy when I work, and I think that's sort of he's very intelligently figured out that actors are very much like children, and you have to lavish them with as much attention as possible, and then they give what you want. And it's amazing how few directors have figured that out, but Joe certainly has. Yes, when he first started talking to me about it, it was for the Middle Bryony. And as soon as I read the script, I'd totally fallen in love with Cecilia. And I'm not quite sure what it was. I think I had been looking for something more mature. I didn't really want to play the sort of teenager. I wanted to go into somewhere else. So we had this lunch where we were sort of battling over it, and I managed to persuade him that I'd play Cecilia, and he managed to persuade me to play Bryony. So that got quite confusing, and we had to battle a bit more before we both decided that, we'd done in Pride and Prejudice, we'd done that kind of girl coming of age, and not that that's what the Middle Bryony is, but I think it was just more interesting for us creatively to look at a character that was completely different. People are saying that it feels like they've had their heart ripped out and somebody's jumped all over it, which apparently is a good thing. No, I mean, when I read the script, I cried, and I think, you hear people sobbing from about halfway through the movie until the end. I think it's incredibly truthful, and I think the best romances are always the tragic ones. And it is bleak, but it's bleak with a kind of hope to it, which is quite amazing. And the response that we had in Venice last night, I've never seen anything like it. It was wonderful. I think partly because, with a lot of romantic films, they get overly sentimental, and this doesn't have that kind of sentimentality to it. It's quite an intelligent look at a situation, at an emotional situation. And hopefully people are responding to that.
I think Robbie, who I love dearly, is a wholly good person. I think he's slightly idealised perhaps, but maybe not. Maybe there are people who exist like that, but I don't know them. He's optimistic, he's empathetic, he's imaginative. Empathy is imagination. He imagines what it's like to be you, and you, and you, and he imagines what it's like to be someone who hates him, who tries to understand everyone, tries to love everyone, and I respect that, and I love that dearly. That alone, as incredible as that is, wouldn't create an incredibly interesting story, or maybe even an interesting person. But the fact that we destroy him and tear him to pieces is fascinating. I don't know why we're fascinated by that kind of thing. We love sad love songs. We love songs about people being cheated on and splitting up. We love poetry like that. We love books like that. We want to have our hearts torn to pieces. I think because it makes us feel like we're not alone, and that is what drew me to Robbie. Also, that it was impeccably written. It's the finest piece of writing for film that I've ever had put in front of me. I think Keira in this film is probably the most perfectly cast person in terms of period and style and all that. She suits it just ridiculously well. You look at her in this film and you go, Jesus, you were born out of your time, I think she's incredible in this film, and I think she's got a tough role and she's brave to have taken it on because, she's very much the leading lady at the moment, and the biggest star in Britain, I'd say, and to play somebody unlikable isn't something that a lot of people, especially young people, would do. Maybe when you get a bit older and a bit kind of into your 30s and 40s, you start to go, hey, I'm going to play with the audience's affections for me. But she's very young and she's already doing that, and she's taking a character role. Character that a lot of people won't like to begin with. And what she does so brilliantly is she makes her so real that you can't help but like her, because she's utterly human. And I think we love human beings. You can't help but love her. And so the unit that they create, which is quite a strong connection considering we only see them on screen together like 3 times, really motors you and keeps you going.